Sup, y'all? It's me. It's your boy Asmongold, and welcome to This Week in Warcraft. Now, there haven't been a whole lot of things that have happened this time around, but what has happened is important, and I do think that it bears discussion. The first thing that I want to talk to you about is the Mythic Plus changes that happened not only a couple of days ago, but also another round of changes that happened on the 17th. And guys, whenever I say changes, what I really mean to say is nerfs, okay? Cathedral of Eternal Night got the shit nerfed out of it, and Karazhan got nerfed even more. And guys, I mean, if you've done those dungeons on an 18, 19, 20, 21, even higher, if you wanted to put yourself through that torture, you would know that they were overtuned as hell. Like, you'd have bosses that had like 200 million more health than other bosses in equivalent dungeons on the same level. It was absolutely ridiculous, and the nerfs needed to happen. And honestly, I mean, people are wondering, why is this even happening? Why is it happening now and not before? It's obvious, right? They're doing the Mythic Plus Invitational next week. How's Blizzard gonna look whenever they do a tournament and it's just so blatantly obvious in front of everybody's face how much easier certain dungeons are than other ones on the same level? Now, I'm not really saying that there shouldn't be any variance in difficulty, but whenever a Cathedral of Eternal Night, like let's say you do a 15 or you do a 14 and you finish the dungeon in time and upgrades once, and people are like, oh, what dungeon did you get? And you're like, oh, I got Cathedral of Eternal Night. And then they type LOL and they leave. Okay, so that's what would happen, and Karazhan was the same way. Like, do you want to do lower Karazhan with bursting? No. Do you want to do Karazhan at all? No, probably not. It's like, I kind of understood the fact that Karazhan was a little bit harder, right? Because they gave some items like the cloak, they gave you more healing, and a couple of other items that kind of made sense for the loot to be better, and so the bosses in a dungeon is harder. Like that kind of, you know, like you do a harder boss, you get better loot. I don't know, guys. You know, I guess I'm old school with that, but that's the way that I feel. But Cathedral is like, you got the same gear like that you get in any other dungeon. There's nothing special about the Cathedral gear, and the dungeon was just arbitrarily much more difficult. And ultimately, like, even if you want to pretend like you're some kind of professional player that can do a plus 23 Cathedral or something like that on Tyrannical, even if you think that you're one of those people, you can't say that that's good for game design whenever two of the dungeons are ones that were just arbitrarily more difficult than all of the rest. So it's of course a good decision that they made, and it's also completely decided and influenced by the fact that they did they're doing the Mythic Plus Invitational next week. And I just want to read out some of these changes, and then I'm going to ask you guys a question, okay? So let me go ahead and find it. Is this the other one? Just one second here. Sorry about that. Here we go. So lower Karazhan, here are some changes that they've made. Garrote initial damage, this is on Moros, reduced by 90%. 90%? What the fuck? How is it Dark Solitude on Mephistoth? I don't know how to pronounce his name. Who cares? Dark Solitude initial damage reduced by 90%? Who beta tests this game? Apparently we do. Like, this is fucking ridiculous, the fact that they haven't done this. How is it possible that this has been in the game for months and they're just reducing it by 90%? Like, somebody, like, do they have beta testers? That is my question. I have no idea. How do you possibly nerf something by 90%? And it's not like they're making up for it and then, oh wow, the ticking damage does more, or the, you know, Dark Solitude other damage, if you're standing next to somebody else, it kills them or something. No, that's not even changed. These are just straight 90% nerfs on damage. It's incredible to me that these haven't happened earlier. And what are they doing? What is Blizzard doing? How are they possibly... I don't understand how these changes happen after this has been the state of the game for months. It's extremely frustrating, honestly, because you just have people telling them this and they don't listen, and they're finally doing a tournament, and so now people are going to win some fucking money, and now they decide to take it seriously. Well, it's kind of frustrating for everybody else that pays a subscription, isn't it? So that's really all I have to say. I'm obviously pretty pissed off about it, but I'm glad it's happening. Better late than never. Next thing that I'm also not happy about is my classes getting nerfed. It's awesome. My two best in slot legendaries, one of which I got a few days ago, is getting nerfed tomorrow. Arms Warriors, the helmet, legendary helmet, is getting the damage proc cut from 4% to 2%. And guys, if you're not really too sharp on math, that's 50%. And then also, Ayla's Stone Heart for Arms Warriors is going to proc 40% less. So instead of going through 10% of a boss's health pool without getting a proc, now we'll go through 20. So I'm not very happy about. Actually, that's not really the way the math would go. But it takes a long time for the procs to happen anyway, and now they're nerfing them even more. It's kind of frustrating. Arms warriors are really good. I think targeting the legendaries is better than targeting the spec itself, because then it punishes players that don't already have those legendaries, and it is important to make more of them kind of in line with each other so people aren't feeling like they're getting bad legendaries. But whenever you've just spent 2 weeks of your time farming out for one legendary, you finally get it, and then you wake up the next day and see it's getting nerfed, not good. Not good at all. So also on top of that, Ret Paladins and Frost DKs are getting buffed. I think the buffs are about a I think 2.5 to 5% buff on each one of them. Might be a little bit more, might be a little bit less. I don't really know if it's going to make them viable, if Ret Paladins are still going to be the wheelchair class or the spec or whatever. I don't know how that meme started, but that's what people are calling them now. And I have no idea, but those are getting buffed. Arms is getting nerfed. I can see why. Arms is, of course, a very, very strong spec, but there are other specs that are performing higher than Arms, and I don't really see those specs getting nerfed, which is kind of frustrating, but that's just, I guess it's the way it goes. On top of that, Russell Brower, is that how I say names? I think that's how I say his name. He's the composer for a lot of the Warcraft music, StarCraft music, Hearthstone music, and I think there is one other franchise that he made the music for as well. Is his position was basically made redundant by Blizzard, and they're letting him go, and he might work as a contractor later on, or like like he's not working for Blizzard directly all the time, but he could come on and help with certain projects later on. And that kind of sucks, right? Because the music in WoW has always been, I think, a really defining feature of World of Warcraft. And it's like, you don't really know what's going on, right? I have no idea what's going on, but I've seen this happen in a lot of companies where, you have somebody that's kind of been in the company for a long time and has done something that's kind of like defined the company, and then they're let go because maybe they make too much money, or the position is made redundant, or whatever you want to call it. And it's just always disappointing whenever, of course they're all companies, but sometimes it seems like money kind of, I guess, like takes precedent over giving people a good experience. And of course it's a company. Of course it is. But I think it's just really sad to see somebody who's, played such an integral part in making the music for games that people really, really enjoy. And the music for WoW and the music for Diablo 3 as well. I absolutely love those soundtracks. And so it's a huge disappointment to see somebody who was instrumental, that's not a pun, by the way. It was an accidental pun. Who was instrumental on creating those be let go or made redundant. But on the other side, Christy Golden, who's one of the people that like writes the World of Warcraft books, is writing a new Warcraft book, and that's pretty cool. Like, I remember I read I think Lord of the Clans was written by her as well, and I read that way back in the day. And I actually have a friend of mine, I'm gonna have to tell him this. I have a friend of mine, and he actually was in jail for like a few months, actually closer to a year, and he read every single World of Warcraft book. So I'm going to go ahead and let him know that too. And I think it's cool that they're adding more content and more lore for the game. I feel like after they've added the Chronicle, it did kind of change some of the, I guess, like some of the lore in the game. They retconned some of it realistically. And they're trying to do some of that with, I think, also the dragons and like the dragon aspects. And then on top of that, they did that with Illidan, and also to a certain extent with Sargeras. So at least it didn't flesh the story out enough to make it more clear to readers. So I think it's good for them to be making more books, and that way it can kind of get people acclimated and understanding of the new storylines and kind of the way that things are going, so people aren't kind of wondering, is this still the case? Is that still the case? And so I think having new books is definitely going to be a good thing, and I'm very happy about that. And also, one of the last things that I want to talk to you guys about is it has to do with private servers. Now, there was a new private server that came out. It was called Felmist. It was made by somebody named Gummy. Now, this had a lot of support. People were really happy about it, and the server was up probably for less time than this video is gonna be long. I guess that was gonna be a funny joke if I didn't fuck up the punchline. But either way, the server was up for like a few hours, maybe. Like, it might have been even less than an hour before Blizzard Blizzard lawyers or lawyers, somebody knocked on this dude's door and served him a cease and desist, and he shut down the server. And it's always really funny to me because it seems like the private server community just invents new ways to cuck itself every single week. And it's also disappointing because I'm on the same team as those guys, right? I love Vanilla WoW. I love Burning Crusade. I'd love to see legacy servers, but the last thing I want to do is waste my time playing on a private server that's going to get shut down in a number of hours. I don't really know how delusional or naive you'd have to be to believe that a private server that's hosted in the United States isn't going to get shut down within a matter of hours. But then again, people like that feel like if you code it yourself, then you own the product. So you can't really argue with stupid people, can you? Anyway, disappointing, but not a surprise. Oh, the Auction House dance party happened. All right, so that's pretty much the end of the news. That's all that happened really this week. It was a good week. Oh, Method and Exorcist killed Jaden Mythic, but that happened last week. But I didn't make a video last week because nothing else happened. So that's cool. Congrats to them. I'm actually looking forward to seeing if there's going to be like a Mythic only fight or a phase or what it's going to be. Very excited for that. Now for myself, what did I do? I did a whole lot of nothing, but it's going to be accumulating into something that actually might matter. Now I've been leveling up all my alt characters. I've been leveling up my Paladin. I got my 3rd relic slot on him, and also like an hour later I got my 1st legendary. It was a Paladin helmet that gives you another charge of the heal. I don't even know if it's good, honestly. I wanted the leggings, but I didn't get them. I'm playing Prod on my Paladin, of course. Actually, it's not, of course. Prod sucks right now. But either way, I've been playing a lot of my alts. I've been really enjoying that, and just gearing a character up and then playing it, and then just kind of understanding it, and then going back to my warrior and seeing kind of, I guess, like, you know, playing another class, it gives you more perspective on not only that class, but also your own. And you can see like, oh, well, if I was my warrior, I would have done this. And this is something that I guess mages are good at or paladins are good at that warriors aren't good at, and vice versa. So I think that kind of stuff is really interesting, and I've really enjoyed playing my other characters. I'm hoping to get all of my characters up to 110, and maybe even completing all of the artifact challenge scenarios in the Mage Tower on at least one spec for each character, but maybe all of them depending on how much time I have and how easy they are towards the end of the expansion. One thing that's been very frustrating though is having to get legendaries on those characters. If legendaries was not a factor in terms of gearing up a character, I think it would be much more enjoyable for me as well. And on top of that, I was on my stream and we got another successful run of Glory of the Legion Raider, which is always really cool to see people riding around on those mounts. I remember I was telling a story, or I was like talking about us getting, you know, like some other thing, and then I talked about us getting like Glory of the Legion Raider for the first time, and then I had people while I was doing that mounting up on the mounts that I had gotten them. And it's always just really cool to see somebody riding around in Dalaran, and you recognize their name from the run, and you're like, yeah, I was there, I made that happen. You know, obviously I'm not like the only person in a raid, but you know, I raid led that, and I put that together on stream, and this guy's got that mount for my stream, and so that's really, really cool to see that happen. And I got some of that done, some other mounts for people, and just some other stuff too. So I've had a pretty good week. I've really been enjoying playing other characters and just doing that as kind of some time off for my warrior. I'll admit I'm a little salty about the changes for arms warriors, but that's the way it goes, I guess. But anyway, guys, that's what I've been up to. That's been going on. That is basically all the news. So good things, some bad things, and everything else in between. So let me know what you guys did this week, and that's pretty much all I've got. Thank you guys so much for watching, and like, comment, and subscribe.